Hi, Senator. How you doing? We're gonna take our first question from Jasmine. Senator.
Hello. So, a military leader with the Syrian Kurds told the U.S., "You are leaving us to be slaughtered." Can I get your reaction on the latest of what's happening in Syria with Trump pulling out forces and, the last couple days?
It is the height of irresponsibility. It is yet again another display of Donald Trump's inability to understand the role and the responsibility of commander-in-chief, which includes standing with our allies, which includes standing with our friends, which includes standing with those who have stood with us in time of need. And the result of what he has done is predictably that Kurds we're seeing are being open to slaughter. Also, there is predictably what is happening, which is an abandonment to some extent of what they have otherwise been doing in terms of overseeing ISIS detainees and their families. And this is yet again another display of Donald Trump's unilateral actions based on unknown motivations, but clearly not being motivated by America's national security and our interest in terms of maintaining our security through the relationships.
We're going to go to Maura from NBC.
Hi, Senator. You spoke tonight about voters needing to know how they've been played by social media. How do you do that? How do you interact with tech companies? And do you regulate social media? And how do you toe that line of not stepping on voters' free speech on social media?
Well, voters have been played by foreign entities, and we know that, as you know, this week we, through the Senate Intelligence Committee on which I serve, outlined some of what we know to be what happened in 2016, which is that Russia interfered in the election, but they manipulated Americans, and in particular around the issue of race. And so, yes, and so people got played because there was a lot of misinformation, false information, that was directed at specific populations, in particular black voters in America, with an intent to turn people off and discourage people from the process, and with an intent to use race, which is America's Achilles heel, in a way that would further create divisions among us. And when we are not in harmony, when we do not have unity, we are weaker. And that is Russia's whole purpose. What is the role of social media? Well, to detect it, to know what's happening and do something about it. And, I've also said, and you've seen me on various committees, both Judiciary, Senate Intelligence, Homeland Security, I do feel very strongly that the social media companies have a responsibility to not only detect it, but do something about it when they see that there is interference by a foreign entity in our elections. I also believe that we need to look at any business model that profits from hate.
Senator, we're going to the left to Rachel from ABC.
Senator, looking forward to the next debate, 12 candidates all on one stage.
Yes.
What will be the biggest challenge of having 12 candidates on one stage?
It's the challenge of debates generally, and I guess it will be the case now, which is I don't think is much that can be talked about in a serious way about some of the most challenging public policy in 1 minute and 15 seconds. And I speak for myself when I say that there is so much that is challenging our nation, be it what I continue to say, there are fundamental issues about justice, whether it be about Donald Trump's misconduct or it be about economic inequity in this country, whether it be about everyone from pharmaceutical companies to big oil companies having an outsized influence on policy. A number of issues that require a conversation, and the reality of it is that these debates, as they have existed, don't really allow for any in-depth conversation, but they are important to have, and obviously we must have them so the American people can get to know the candidates.
We're going to swing back to the right to Clay Masters.
Hey, Senator.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hi.
Curious, took a handful of questions here. Impeachment didn't come up. I mean, do you think Iowans are engaged and are making that an issue about the caucuses?
I do. The way that I think it comes up is really about what we hear throughout, which is people are exhausted by what's been happening over the last 2 years in the Trump administration. They are feeling a sense of a lack of confidence in the integrity of our system of democracy and justice. And all of that has to do with all of the issues that are underlying this impeachment process. So people are feeling it, they are reacting to it, they are raising it, but it is in the overall context of really, I think, the level of frustration and exhaustion that people are experiencing, and therefore the need and the strong desire that we get things done.
Okay. Why do you think people haven't made their minds up yet?
On candidates, I think that it's still early. As I mentioned, I was here in Iowa that week between Christmas and New Year's in '07, and I think that there are obviously a lot of candidates. Back to the earlier point about 12 people on the stage, and I'm optimistic about the fact, actually, because of course there are a number of people who are on the stage who have been on the stage for, in some cases, decades, and I think that speaks volumes about the fact that people are still interested in getting to know everyone before they make it. That's why I have virtually moved to Iowa.
We'll take our last one from Phoenix right here in the front.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yes,
And
of course.
what do you think? What do you think kids my age can do to help unite our country when it is so divided?
I think your voice is probably the most important voice because you have the most at stake. And I think that adults should have to be able to and be required to look in your eyes and explain whether or not they are prepared to take immediate action on an issue like the climate crisis, knowing that you and your generation of leaders are going to pay the price for our action or inaction. I think that leaders, anybody running for president, should have to look in your eyes when you ask, why do I have to go to school and have a drill because there might be a mass shooter, and why haven't you all had the courage to pass reasonable gun safety laws? And I could go down the list. Your voice, I think, is the most critical voice in terms of making clear what's important right now and the need to act with a sense of urgency, understanding we're all in this together. Because what I know about our young leaders is you could give 2 cents about whether somebody is registered Republican or Democrat. What you want to know is that certain things like these issues like gun violence and what we need to do around the climate, you just want to know that stuff is going to get done. So I look forward to you continuing to lead.
Senator, can we
Thank you so much.
Fires in California really quick? PG&E, along with Edison, they're creating blackouts so they don't create fires in California. Many people are frustrated. Some say that those companies should be replaced. Do you support a ratepayer-owned utility as a replacement?
I am and have for a long time been concerned about PG&E and its failure to maintain its systems. And listen, it's a tragedy what's happening right now around these fires. There are families who are. I have spent time in the wildfire areas of the Camp Fire of Paradise, California, where you've heard me say over and over about firefighters that were battling fires while their own homes were burning. And we've got to, everyone has a role to play, including our utilities.
Sorry, that's all we have time for.
Une question en
Thank you
français,
so much.
madame. Est-ce que vous avez un message pour les Européens inquiets de...
All right, I'm here in Des Moines, Iowa, and you just heard from Senator and presidential candidate Kamala Harris. I'm going to thank her for her time. But for now, I'm Phoenix with PhoenixRisingInAmerica.com, and this is our